coming to you from Garden World out in Mildersdrift, Johannesburg. Only 8 days before their spring festival comes to an end and only 8 days before that favorite season officially springs. My name is Tumi Sedumedi. Welcome to this edition of the Art Bulletin, and as always, thank you very much for staying with us. Kagiso Pet Mawutlo's mid-career retrospective exhibition opened on Tuesday evening at the AO2 Lifestyle Center in Mufulira Central. This is part of a project by Mashumi Art Projects that aims to celebrate and put the spotlight on various artists raised in South Africa's townships. In true Art Bulletin style, we caught up with Pet Mawutlo.
The span of my career in this profession has been quite long. There's been ups and downs, and how I became an artist, it was, I don't know if it was by default or I followed what I was passionate about when I was, when I was young, when I was in high school. And I ended up in different fields of profession. For instance, I was into banking, then I went into advertising, and then I went into media as a graphic designer, but later I got back to doing fine art. For me, I think art is more about, well, it's got to please, but also it's got to equally entertain, because it's something that you buy and you live with in your space.
4 South African amateur bands have been selected to be part of the lineup that includes the UK's Rudimentals and Crystal Fighters at this year's Vodacom in the City. The winners of the Open the City competition were announced earlier this week.
It's not only about the internationals coming here and having a great time and performing for the local audience and going back home. It's also about the platform and the opportunity for the local band to either advance their career or actually have the potential to make their career. For instance, Albert last year, they're relatively unknown, but since their introduction, or at least their performance at Vodacom in the City last year, it's completely propelled their careers. And it's hard to make it as a musician in South Africa, but this platform sort of, everyone's passion, it just brings it back and says, okay, you know what, I can actually do this, I really want to do this. So that's essentially why it's an amazing platform for up-and-coming acts or even established act to propel the careers even further. The requirements we had were that the band had to be in existence for 2 years, or at least had been able to perform live for 2 years. They performed in front of 2,000 people, that they had 45 minutes of their own material, and also that they will be able to perform on the 5th of September and the 3rd of October.
Arts and humanities site OK Africa has listed 10 of their favorite Instagram accounts chronicling life throughout the diaspora. Titled Instagram in the Diaspora, the exercise aims to change the monotonous narrative that Africa is the land of disease and poverty.
In Instagramming the diaspora, OK Africa selected some of their favorite images from different projects across the continent. These include at Everyday Africa, at Lagos Photo Festival, at Mumbap, at Africa Showboy, as well as at Everyday Jamaica. For instance, presents a collection of images that attempts to redirect focus towards a more accurate understanding of what Africans experience on a day-to-day basis, normal life, while Lagos Photo, which is the first and only international arts festival of photography in Nigeria, is a growing community of local and international artists united through images composed of individual experiences and identities across the African continent. The images range from portraits, landscapes to daily activities.
To celebrate the story of musical activism in South Africa's struggle towards equality and freedom, Shifty Records, Alliance Francaise and the South African History Archives will host a series of panel discussions, documentary screenings and exhibitions. Here's more information about Shifty September.
We have a month-long exhibition which will take place at the Alliance Francaise, showcasing history of Shifty. And we have a series of events, panel discussions, screenings about different themes. One will be a tribute to James Phillips, one will be a tribute to Full Fray, the tour, which shook South Africa in 1989. And we'll have a tribute to the swingers and the singers, which are very interesting choir competitions happening in Cape Town and in Johannesburg.
We're celebrating some of the high points, like the Full Fray tour. We're having an evening on that. It's going to be moderated by Karel Hoffman from Opikopi. The James Phillips evening, we're going to be doing also obviously something based on protest, which is going to be presented by Warwick Sony of the Kalahari Surfers, who is probably South Africa's most consistent protest songwriter. It's called Radio Control because you know, you don't get played on the radio. And then we also have something that is very sort of close to my heart in terms of the kind of people that I've worked with over the years. It's called We Are Not In It For The Money.
As we've been processing the archive, we've realized, I guess because of the nature of the way Shifty was working and moving around the country, working a little bit undercover, there are quite a few gaps, quite a few stories missing and voices missing from the archive that we know would really add to the story of activism. So we're trying to get people to bring along the things that they wouldn't ordinarily think about as archive. So the posters, the snapshots at the kinds of places that Shifty musicians used to play, the letters that they wrote to each other, the badges that they all had stuck onto their very 80s denim jackets.
Business and Arts South Africa has launched a new campaign designed to capture the role of the arts in people's lives. We spoke to BASO's Lonwabo Mavuso about Art Moves Me.
We're trying to offer a platform for people who otherwise may not have the platform to show how art moves them. So as we work with businesses, Business and Arts South Africa, this campaign is about going to different kind of our corporate members and showing how art moves them in different ways. As part of the Art Moves Me campaign, this is the first rollout of it, and this, as you see in the artwork, we have Sindiso Mnyoni, who's created this fantastic graffiti works, which is part of the campaign. As we move forward, there'll be different artists that we'll be engaging with. After the BASA Awards, this Art Moves Me campaign will move to different corporate members. We have, as an organization, we have over 160 corporate members, in which we'll try to engage with them as much as possible. Then after this, we're going to try to move into a more digital space, so it's more accessible, and we can share some of the stories that have been shared by the people in the different organizations that we've been working with.
The province of KwaZulu-Natal is getting ready for a performance and visual arts feast. This as the 22nd Witness Hilton Arts Festival will take place at the Hilton College in the KZN Midlands between the 19th and the 21st of September. The festival hosts projects, artists and productions from all over South Africa.
Well, this year has been a very interesting year because, of course, it is our 20th anniversary of democracy in this country. So I've tried to find some shows, at least, that relate directly to that issue. All the work here is South African. There are no imports from other countries, which is also another way of celebrating our own artistic diversity. A new angle of the festival, also to try and make it different for this year, is for the first time we're staging a very, very large art exhibition, as well as the theatre aspect of the festival. We've got 61 artists exhibiting in one area. In another area, we've also got a retrospective of lampoons and satirist drawings, cartoons that were done during the apartheid era.
Last week, we brought you the story of Soul Foot, which is a production currently on at the Joburg Theatre. This week, we bring you the story of what they are doing away from the stage. The production is taking their international artists to impart their skills at schools in and around Joburg and Soweto. Their acrobats, dancers and jugglers from countries such as Gambia and the Czech Republic spent some time at Sakumzi earlier this week.
For the first time, we're having 18 artists from 17 different cultures in different genres of music, and some of them acrobatics and so on. We thought that it might be prudent for us to conduct workshops. These will be done by the Vietnamese acrobatic dancers who are going to give dance workshops. It will be done by a Senegalese drummer who's going to be giving drumming workshops. It's also going to be done by a Brazilian bass guitarist who's going to do that. There's an Indian famous musician as well who would want to be also conducting these workshops. The idea is to expose students to a different genre of music, but also different artists from different worlds, but also more importantly, to show them some of the unique instruments that they will have. There's a gentleman who comes from Gambia who plays a beautiful music, which is a kora that students will get to touch and feel. So we think that this will really be one of the many exposures that we think that students will benefit from them. We'll be going to Soweto and Alexander to do this show and also around schools in Johannesburg.
And that's all the time we have for today's edition of the Art Bulletin, coming to you from Garden World out in Meldersdrift in Johannesburg. We'll bring you more of their gardens in the next edition of the Art Bulletin. In the meantime, feel free to let us know what's happening in and around your art circles. We are at Morning Live SABC on Twitter, and our email address is morninglive@sabc.co.za. Until next time, it's a goodbye from us.